Have you ever wondered why life seems to break you before it ever blesses you? Why the deepest pain often comes long before the breakthrough you've been waiting for? It feels unfair, doesn't it? Almost cruel. As if the universe is testing you, stripping you down and asking, how much can you endure before you give up? This is not just your story. It was Elon Musk's story too. Because before the rockets, before the billions, before the headlines, there was a boy who carried more pain than most adults could ever handle. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa, in 1971. From the outside, it may have seemed like a privileged life, a middle-class family, a stable home, a chance at education. But the truth was different. Elon grew up in an environment that often felt cold, fractured, and hostile. His parents divorced when he was young, and his relationship with his father was deeply painful, marked by emotional wounds that Elon rarely speaks about even today. Imagine being a child, longing for comfort, and instead finding criticism, distance, or silence. Those wounds do not vanish. They shape you. But that wasn't the only pain Elon carried. At school, he was different. He wasn't the loudest. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the boy everyone wanted to be around. He was quiet, curious, obsessed with reading, ideas, and worlds beyond the ordinary. And for children, being different is often the same as being marked. Elon was bullied relentlessly. The other kids didn't just tease him, they hunted him. Once, a group of boys pushed him down a flight of stairs and beat him so badly he ended up in the hospital. His face was swollen, unrecognizable, and he couldn't go back to school for weeks. Can you imagine that? The humiliation, the fear, the loneliness of being punished simply for being who you are? Maybe you can. Maybe your scars aren't physical, but emotional. Maybe you've been bullied by life itself, by circumstances, by people who didn't see your worth. Maybe you've carried wounds that no one claps for, no one notices, but that ache inside you every single day. This was Elon's reality. And here's the truth most people don't understand. Pain like this can do two things. It can either break you forever, or it can harden you into something unstoppable. For Elon, the pain didn't just make him resilient, it made him hungry. He learned that if the world outside wouldn't give him comfort, he would build worlds inside his own mind. He devoured books, science fiction, technology, engineering, philosophy. While other kids played, Elon dreamed of galaxies, of inventions, of humanity's future beyond Earth. And maybe this is the first hidden lesson his life offers you. Pain isolates, but in isolation, we often discover the seed of who we really are. When Elon sat alone, nose buried in books, he wasn't escaping. He was training. He was learning to think differently, to see differently, to imagine differently. Pain forced him inward, and inward he discovered vision. But let's pause here, because maybe you've experienced something similar. Maybe the people around you never understood you. Maybe your ideas felt too big, too strange, too out there for those who preferred the comfort of normalcy. And maybe, just like Elon, you've been punished for being different. If so, then you know how tempting it is to shrink yourself, to hide, to pretend to be someone smaller just to belong. Elon could have done that. He could have given up, blended in, stopped dreaming, but instead he let the pain carve him into someone the world could not ignore. That's what pain does if you let it. It strips away illusions, forces you to choose, either break apart or break through. By the time Elon was a teenager, he wasn't just reading stories about other worlds, he was writing his own. At 12 years old, he created and sold a video game called Blastar. Think about that. While other kids were playing games, Elon was building them. That's the difference pain creates. It makes you restless. It makes you hungry. It makes you unwilling to sit back and accept the script others write for you. But the deeper truth is this. Behind every spark of brilliance in Elon's life was a wound. Behind every invention was an injury. Behind every bold move was the memory of being small, beaten, and dismissed. And maybe that's true for you too. Maybe your pain is not evidence that you're unworthy. Maybe it's evidence that you're being prepared for something greater. Because pain, as brutal as it feels, is often life's first test. It asks, will you let this destroy you? Or will you use it to build something no one else can see yet? For Elon Musk, the answer was clear. He chose to use it. He chose to let every scar become fuel, every insult become a challenge, every heartbreak become a reason to push harder. And that choice, the choice to transform pain instead of run from it, was the foundation of everything that came next. Because pain, when embraced, does something extraordinary. It frees you from fear. After you've been beaten, humiliated, and dismissed, rejection doesn't sting the same way. Failure doesn't terrify you. You've already lived through the worst. And once you realize you can survive it, nothing can truly stop you. This was the Elon Musk that left South Africa behind. A boy carrying scars, carrying loneliness, carrying wounds that never fully healed, but also carrying an unstoppable fire. He dreamed of America, the place he called the land of opportunity, where impossible things could be tried. And, though the journey would be filled with more pain than he could ever imagine, he carried with him the lesson that pain was not his enemy. Pain was his forge. And maybe that's what you need to hear today. Your pain is not wasted. It may feel meaningless now, like cruelty without reason. But if you endure, if you dare to transform it, it will become the raw material of your strength. The world doesn't remember Elon Musk because he avoided pain. The world remembers him because he turned pain into power. This was only the beginning of his story, the wound. But the wound is where every transformation starts. The question is, what will you do with yours? Leaving South Africa wasn't just a physical journey for Elon Musk, it was an emotional leap into the unknown. Imagine walking away from everything familiar, from the land that shaped you, carrying only your dreams and the scars of your past. For many, that step would be terrifying. For Elon, it was necessary. He understood something most of us avoid. Sometimes the only way to heal, to grow, to transform your pain into power, is to place yourself in the fire. When Elon arrived in Canada. At 17, he had little more than hope, stubbornness, and a relentless curiosity that refused to be quieted. He worked odd jobs, saved money wherever he could, and studied relentlessly. There were nights when he slept on floors, shivering, in cheap apartments, surviving on minimal food. But every moment of discomfort was a lesson. Every hardship was data. Every rejection was fuel. It was during these years that Elon began his first experiments. Not with rockets or electric cars, but with ideas and entrepreneurship. He co-founded Zip2, a software company that provided business directories and maps for newspapers. Think about that. a young immigrant, barely 20, trying to convince the world to believe in an idea no one had ever seen before. Investors were skeptical. Partners questioned his judgment. And yet, he persisted. And here's the pattern that would define Elon Musk for the rest of his life. Every obstacle became an experiment. Every failure, an insight. Every insult, a challenge. Elon didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. He created conditions through sheer obsession and relentless action. He knew something crucial that most people ignore. The world doesn't reward safety, comfort, or waiting. The world rewards audacity, and audacity is born from discomfort. But the road wasn't smooth. Zip2's early days were filled with tension, arguments, and near collapse. Elon worked insane hours, coding, negotiating, planning. He rarely slept, eating only what he needed to survive. His obsession alienated colleagues and even friends, and yet this obsession was not madness. It was methodology. He was testing himself, pushing the limits of endurance, learning how far he could go when the world pressed against him. Eventually, Zip2 was sold for nearly $300 million. Many would have rested there, content with success, basking in validation. But Elon didn't stop, because he had tasted pain and he knew that safety was a trap. He knew that comfort seduces us into mediocrity, that the world's applause can blind you to its limits. Instead of retreating, he leaped again, this time into PayPal. PayPal wasn't just a business venture, it was a battlefield. Elon invested nearly all of his fortune into X.com, an online bank that eventually became PayPal. The stress was unimaginable. He was outvoted on major decisions. Colleagues doubted him. And then came the gut punch. He was replaced as CEO of the company he founded. Imagine that. The humiliation of losing control of your vision. The sting of rejection from people you trusted. The fear that your dream was slipping through your fingers. And yet, Elon didn't collapse. Instead, he internalized a principle that would define him forever. Power is not given, it is reclaimed. The experience with PayPal taught him that the world is rarely kind, that brilliance is often met with skepticism, and that rejection is not a verdict, it is a lesson. By the time PayPal was sold to eBay for $1.5 billion, Elon had learned something far more valuable than money. He had learned resilience. Resilience, however, is not simply enduring. Resilience is choosing to act despite the pain, the fear, the doubt. It is embracing discomfort as a companion rather than an enemy. Elon's early failures were laboratories where he dissected human behavior, tested his own limits, and discovered an uncomfortable truth. Comfort will kill ambition faster than failure ever could. And maybe this is the point where you need to pause and reflect. How many times have you avoided discomfort, thinking it would protect you? How many dreams have you delayed? How many risks have you refused because the fire seemed too hot? Elon Musk shows us that discomfort is not a deterrent. It is a signal. It is life's way of telling you, here is where transformation happens. After PayPal, Elon could have retired. He could have lived in safety, in quiet, with wealth cushioning every failure. But he didn't, because the fire had already changed him. He was no longer the boy who feared rejection. He was no longer the immigrant who worried about survival. He was someone who understood that real growth, real power, comes when you step into the storm willingly. SpaceX, His next venture was the ultimate test. Elon invested $100 million of his own money to start a company that most experts said was impossible. Rockets fail more than they succeed. The odds were overwhelmingly against him, and the first 3 launches of SpaceX's Falcon 1 failed spectacularly. Investors panicked. Friends begged him to give up. The media mocked him mercilessly. Each explosion was a public, humiliating failure. And yet, Elon persisted. Why? Because he had learned the secret the world refuses to teach. Failure is a tool, not a sentence. Pain is data, not destiny. Every setback was analyzed, every mistake dissected, every scar turned into insight. The 4th launch of Falcon 1 succeeded, and the world began to notice. SpaceX became a testament to the principle that relentless perseverance, fueled by the lessons of pain, creates miracles that the timid never witnessed. Tesla tells a similar story. Investors were skeptical. The first models failed to deliver on time, and the company faced near bankruptcy multiple times. Elon slept on the factory floor, worked 120-hour weeks, and invested his own money yet again. He risked everything repeatedly, not because he was reckless, but because he had transformed his pain into a vision so powerful that nothing, not even fear of personal loss, could stop him. Think about that for a moment. Most people are paralyzed by fear, by the potential for loss, by the possibility of pain. Elon Musk harnessed it. He allowed the fire to forge him into a person capable of seeing beyond ordinary limits, capable of turning repeated humiliation into drive, capable of converting personal suffering into public triumph. And here is the uncomfortable truth. The world rewards those who endure, but it also punishes those who avoid. Pain is inevitable. Failure is inevitable. Disappointment is inevitable. But the choice to use these as fuel rather than anchors is entirely yours. Elon Musk's journey through the fire reminds us that we do not get to avoid the storm, but we do get to decide how we navigate it. Perhaps the most powerful lesson from this chapter of Elon's life is this: obsession, persistence, and resilience are not signs of arrogance. They are signs of someone who has seen the abyss and refused to blink. Elon's fire, his relentless drive, was forged not by comfort or ease, but by adversity and humiliation. And that same fire lives within you. The question is whether you will ignite it or let it smolder unseen. Because here's the final truth of Part 2. Leaving comfort, stepping into the unknown, risking everything. This is not madness. This is evolution. This is the process by which pain becomes power. Elon Musk didn't escape his wounds. He entered the fire they offered. And through that fire, he became unstoppable. By the time Elon Musk had founded SpaceX and Tesla, the world thought they knew him. They saw a genius, a visionary, a billionaire on the rise. But very few understood the abyss he was standing in. The relentless pressure, the sleepless nights, the crushing weight of potential failure that could have destroyed everything. This is the part of the story rarely told. The abyss is where true transformation happens. SpaceX's early years were terrifying. Every launch was a gamble, every decision a potential disaster. Falcon 1's first 3 rockets exploded in flames. Hundreds of millions of dollars were gone. Investors were panicking, and Elon was on the verge of losing everything he had poured into the company. Friends pleaded with him to quit. Employees whispered about the futility of continuing, and the media framed him as reckless. A man risking not just his fortune, but the dream of a new space age. And here's the psychological truth that most people never grasp. When the stakes are this high, the mind begins to betray you. Fear becomes a constant companion. Self-doubt creeps in. Even Elon, who had been forged by pain, felt the weight of near-total collapse. But he made a decision that would define his life. To stare into the abyss without flinching. To let the fear exist without letting it control him. Tesla faced its own abyss. Production delays, financial crises, and public scrutiny pushed the company to the brink of bankruptcy multiple times. Elon personally invested millions, risking his own wealth, sleeping on factory floors, and enduring constant pressure from employees, investors, and the press. Imagine being in that position, knowing that if you fail, the consequences are not abstract. They are deeply personal. Your reputation, your dream, your future, all hang by the thinnest of threads. Most people would have surrendered. Most people would have retreated to safety. Elon did not. Why? Because he had learned the power of what psychologists call post-traumatic growth. This is a phenomenon where individuals, after enduring intense pain or stress, emerge stronger, more focused, and more resilient than before. Elon's early life, wounds, the bullying, the loneliness, the repeated humiliation, were not erased by success. They were repurposed. Every failure became a lesson, every heartbreak a catalyst. His pain had become his compass, guiding him through decisions that would have crippled most people. And let's be honest, the abyss is lonely. There are no crowds applauding you when failure strikes. There's only silence, or worse, judgment. There were days when Elon faced criticism from all directions. Every media outlet predicted failure. Every boardroom meeting felt like a trial. Every investor doubt felt like a personal indictment. And yet, he endured. He pressed on. He worked. Not because he was guaranteed success, but because the alternative, giving up, was intolerable. Here is an uncomfortable truth. Most people quit long before they reach the edge. Most people abandon their dreams when the world resists, when pain surfaces, when success seems just out of reach. Elon Musk, however, learned to welcome the abyss. He leaned into it. He transformed fear into strategy, panic into planning, and despair into obsessive action. Consider this. After 3 failed launches, most companies would have folded. SpaceX, however, launched the 4th Falcon 1 successfully. That single success changed everything. But it was not luck. It was the product of relentless iteration, of refusing to let failure define the outcome, of letting every mistake teach him something new. Pain had become fuel. Failure had become the teacher, and the abyss had become a laboratory for experimentation. Tesla's survival was similarly miraculous. Facing bankruptcy in 2008, Elon invested the last of his personal fortune into keeping the company alive. He slept on the factory floor, worked 16-hour days, and weathered investor criticism that would have crushed anyone else. The Model S launch, which initially faced skepticism and technical difficulties, eventually became a global sensation. But the journey there was filled with fear, doubt, and a near-constant sense of potential disaster. And this is where Elon's story intersects with yours. Perhaps you have faced moments when giving up seemed like the rational choice. Perhaps you have stared into your own abyss, whether it's financial stress, personal loss, or the fear of failure, and felt paralyzed. Elon's lesson is not abstract. It is deeply practical. The abyss is inevitable. pain is inevitable. Failure is inevitable. But your response, that is entirely within your control. Elon's approach can be distilled into 3 truths that anyone can apply. Embrace reality fully, even when it's brutal. Elon never sugarcoated his situation. He analyzed every failure, faced every possibility, and made decisions based on facts, not hope. He understood that denial is the enemy of transformation. Treat fear as a signal, not a stop sign. Fear is natural when you stand on the edge. Most people interpret fear as a reason to retreat. Elon used it as information, letting it guide him to where effort was most needed. Iterate relentlessly. Failure is feedback. Every rocket explosion, every production delay, every investor's doubt was data to refine strategy. Persistence was not blind. It was informed, calculated, and unrelenting. But here's the uncomfortable, almost hidden truth. Elon Musk endured, not because he was invincible, but because he had learned to survive pain. His childhood scars, the isolation, the bullying, they had trained him to sit with discomfort longer than anyone else. When other people panic, he strategizes. When others despair, he builds. When others flee, he experiments. And that, perhaps, is the core secret of turning pain into power. It is not about avoiding the abyss. It is about learning to navigate it with eyes wide open, using every scar, every failure, every heartbreak as a tool for creation. Even today, the abyss continues. Every new Tesla model, every SpaceX launch, every venture like Neuralink or Starlink carries unimaginable risk. Elon sleeps less, worries more, and faces scrutiny few could endure. And yet, he continues, because he knows that the alternative, retreating from the fire, is far worse than any suffering he must endure. Pain is never erased. It is only mastered. What does this mean for you? It means that your deepest struggles, your darkest fears, your moments of near collapse, they are not signs that you are weak. They are opportunities. Opportunities to discover your resilience, to refine your strategy, to become someone who can endure more than most. Elon Musk's story proves it. The abyss does not break him. It teaches him, sharpens him, and propels him forward. And maybe this is the most uncomfortable truth of all. You will not become extraordinary by avoiding pain. You will not grow by seeking comfort. You will not reach your potential by waiting for easy days. You become extraordinary by leaning into the fire, by entering the abyss willingly, by transforming fear, failure, and despair into fuel. This is where most people fail. They wait for the storm to pass. Elon Musk did not wait. He ran straight into it. And that is how the abyss, once terrifying and destructive, becomes a forge for power, vision, and mastery. In Part 4, we will explore the transformation, how Elon Musk's lifelong journey of pain, fire, and abyss shaped him into one of the most influential figures of our era, and what lessons you can take to turn your own pain into power. If Part 3 showed you the abyss, Part 4 shows you what happens when you climb out, or rather, when the abyss climbs you. Elon Musk's story does not end with rockets or electric cars. It ends with transformation, the rare, almost mystical ability to convert every ounce of pain, every scar, every failure into fuel for vision, for creation, for impact. Elon Musk's transformation is rooted in an idea most of us resist. Life will never be fair, but it will always offer opportunity. The unfairness, the rejection, the failures, these are constants. They do not go away. What changes is you. The boy who was bullied, beaten, and dismissed became the man who redefined industries. He didn't get rid of his pain. He integrated it. He made it a tool, a compass, and sometimes even a weapon. Consider Tesla. The company that nearly went bankrupt in 2008 now defines the future of electric vehicles. But the success wasn't magical. It was a direct outcome of years of relentless persistence, learning from mistakes, and converting stress into innovation. Elon's personal suffering, his sleepless nights, his anxiety, the constant pressure, did not vanish. It was channeled into brilliance. Pain, in other words, became power. SpaceX offers the same lesson on a cosmic scale. Rockets exploded. The media mocked him. Investors threatened to pull funding. And yet, with each failure, Elon learned. Each setback became a lesson in physics, logistics, risk management, and human endurance. By the time SpaceX successfully launched Falcon 1 and later Falcon 9, Elon's vision wasn't just alive, it was unstoppable. But transformation isn't about external success alone. The deeper transformation is internal. Elon Musk learned to embrace discomfort as a constant companion. He learned to accept that fear, doubt, and pain will never disappear. They are not obstacles to happiness. They are catalysts for growth. The psychological insight here is profound. Post-traumatic growth doesn't erase pain. It teaches mastery. Pain becomes an engine. Failure becomes feedback. Scarcity becomes discipline. And there's another lesson hidden in Elon's transformation. Vision without sacrifice is meaningless. Most people dream of success, wealth, or influence, but they avoid the personal cost. Elon Musk's transformation shows that the personal cost, the sleepless nights, the broken relationships, the relentless scrutiny, is not a bug in the system of achievement. It is the system. The cost is the very mechanism by which ordinary people are forged into visionaries. This is why his story resonates. It's not just the rockets or the Teslas. It's the human truth. Suffering can be transformed into mastery if you are willing to endure, analyze, and act. Pain becomes insight. Insight becomes obsession. Obsession becomes action. And action, sustained over years, becomes extraordinary impact. Elon's journey also teaches an uncomfortable truth about fear. Fear never fully goes away. Even now, with billions, fame, and achievements that seem godlike, Elon faces fear daily. Fear of failure, fear of collapse, fear that the world won't allow his vision to flourish. But he doesn't pretend the fear isn't there. He doesn't try to eliminate it. He harnesses it. Fear, like pain, is transformed from a shackle into a guide. For you, this is the lesson that matters most. Transformation is possible, but only if you embrace your pain, your fear, your failures, not as enemies but as teachers. The universe does not wait for comfort. It does not reward the timid. It rewards those who dare to run into the fire, who climb into the abyss willingly, who take their wounds and craft from them something the world cannot ignore. Elon Musk's life, at its core, is a psychological experiment, a real-time test of human resilience, endurance, and creativity. Each venture, each risk, each sleepless night is a trial in the laboratory of life. And the results are undeniable. Extraordinary humans are not born. They are forged, piece by piece, failure by failure, wound by wound. And here's the final, most potent insight. Your pain, whatever it is already a part of your transformation. The heartbreak you carry, the ridicule you've endured, the nights of loneliness and doubt, they are not mistakes. They are raw material. They are the same kind of fuel that forged Elon Musk. You may not launch rockets, you may not invent electric cars, but you can channel your pain into power in your own sphere, in your own life, in your own way. Ask yourself, how will you respond to your own abyss? Will you flee, or will you stare into it, learn from it, and let it propel you forward? Elon Musk shows the way, not because his journey was painless, or easy, or guaranteed. He shows the way because he refused to let pain define him. He refused to let failure determine his path. And he made the choice to transform every scar into a source of power. And maybe that is the most liberating, most terrifying lesson of all. Transformation is always possible, but it requires courage. Courage not to avoid pain, but to face it fully. Courage not to seek comfort, but to endure discomfort. Courage to experiment with life itself, to treat every setback as a lesson, every humiliation as data, every loss as a spark for reinvention. By the end of his journey so far, Elon Musk has taught us that life's harshest moments, our wounds, our fears, our failures, are not chains. They are ladders. They are not prisons. They are engines. And anyone willing to climb, to endure, to act, can convert their deepest pain into their greatest power. So today, as you sit with your own wounds, remember this. You are not defined by your pain. You are defined by what you do with it. You are not doomed by failure. You are empowered by how you respond. And like Elon Musk, you can turn what once threatened to destroy you into the very force that propels you toward your destiny. The fire, the abyss, the struggle, these are not punishments. They are invitations. Invitations to see yourself not as a victim of circumstance, but as a creator, a visionary, a human capable of extraordinary transformation. Pain is inevitable. Failure is inevitable. But power is optional. And it is waiting for you to claim it. Elon Musk turned pain into power. He transformed every scar, every setback, every fear into fuel for a vision so audacious it reshaped industries and challenged humanity's limits. And now, the question remains for you: what will you do with your own pain? Will you let it bury you, or will you burn with it until it lights your way? Because in the end, the real experiment is not in rockets or cars, it is in you. And the truth is simple, but profound. The fire is always within reach. The abyss is always there. And the power is yours to seize.